Welcome to WTF with Tracy and Friends. They're the most fun you can have on a Wednesday night. With your clothes on, we're back with Pat Agnizio, Jen Anson, friend of the show, Jerry Petito, and the independent candidate for president, Anthony Hudson. Welcome.
What? Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Thanks for having me. This is going to be fun.
It is going to be fun, and it's definitely a departure from our regular type of show. We don't usually get into politics, but we really think it's important for our viewers to know that there are other options out there, and we just want to promote kind of independent, free thinking, critical thinking, and do your research, people. Find a candidate that aligns with the issues that are important to you. And there's more out there than when you just hear on the news. So we're gonna get into that with Anthony tonight, right?
Sounds good. I'm looking forward to it.
All right, all the way from Michigan, you came to see us, huh?
In my own truck. I didn't even have a bus. I had to drive myself.
You drove?
Here. I drove 12 hours.
Oh my
Where
gosh.
in Michigan?
Right here, right south of Flint,
Okay.
where they don't have good drinking water,
Water,
but
yeah.
yeah.
That's a huge.
bottled
Wasn't
water.
that
Poland
like an
Springs
Aaron?
to the
Wasn't that like
rescue?
an
Yeah.
Aaron Brockovich thing or something?
Well,
Yes, it was.
Right?
It was a big deal.
Right.
it's still going on down in Flint, Michigan.
Well, they need to fix it.
Yeah, kids under the age of 10 have not drank fresh water in their lifetime.
That's crazy.
That's outrageous.
Yeah.
How is that allowed?
Disgusting.
It was not. They just got caught. So
That's awful.
now we're in the process of trying to fix it.
My goodness.
All right, well,
Fix that.
we have so many questions to get into with you, but
know,
first,
she was
a
so
couple
helpful.
housekeeping issues. You notice we're all in white. I didn't give you the memo, Jared.
I never
Sorry.
got the memo, guys, okay?
Your
So
hat is
your
white,
hat is
Jerry.
white, but
Oh, my hat is white. I got some white on.
We are summer girls, and
Refusing
it's
to
summer.
give it up.
Yeah, we can't give it up. It's a state of mind. I feel
Yes.
like
It really is.
I have my white linen on.
We have at least another good month of beach weather.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, so
I'm
September
wearing
at the
white
beach is
after
gorgeous.
Labor Day.
it's the best time.
Mm-hmm.
So I was at the beach this weekend with my pumpkin spice latte on the beach. The best of both worlds. Why not?
Oh my God, though, was it so hot though?
No,
What
it
day
was
did you go?
actually freezing cold. We experienced almost every season of weather. It rained on the beach. It was freezing, windy. We actually got kicked off of the beach. There
Thunder
was
and lightning.
lightning.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
So, but it was 9 miles inland. But we still had to evacuate the beach. That's a new law. 30 minutes from the last lightning strike. You can't be on a beach.
Oh,
It's like a baseball
I
game.
was just going to say, it's like sports.
Little League.
It is. I've never been kicked off the beach, but we did go back, and it ended up being a beautiful day. But it was just bizarre.
Yeah.
But
Only in Jersey.
I know. Well, we've got
I
a
mean, 'cause
couple
it's
more,
just so ungodly hot.
couple
the last
more
couple days.
good, beach days we can get in. But I do want to talk about something I saw. So, typically Memorial Day weekend, you have the signs on the highway. It's all about the drunk driving. This, that. Do you know what they were? $2.95 on Saturday, $1.95 on Sunday, and then even at the beach, an airplane went by with the, what's it called?
A banner.
Like the banner
Thank you,
thingy?
a banner. But they were all about, do you suspect terrorism? If you see something, say something.
Get
Contact
out.
the Department of Homeland Security. Thank you. And I was like, well, I wasn't suspicious, but I am now. What's going on?
Yeah, are we on
That's-
a
But like the
heightened
house
alert?
sad is that's, do you know what I'm saying? Like that's what it's come to.
I know, it really struck me though, but now I'm on high alert.
yeah, it's like those magazines on the airplane, the futuristic magazines. Like, I was on a flight recently to Yuma, Arizona, and I was looking through there, and have you ever wanted house shoes with headlights? It's like,
No, but I do
no,
now.
but all those times I hit my
Sounds
coffee
genius,
table,
right?
now I can have house shoes. It has a little clicker for your big toe, and
Lord.
I bought 3 pairs. So you didn't even know you needed them until they put it in front of you. So yeah,
Advertisement, baby.
I have no problems finding the bathroom at 2 a.m. with my house shoes with
go.
headlights.
That's great.
You may need it if you're in the White House. That's a big building.
It is.
It is
They're
a big.
looking for cocaine. I don't know.
Have you ever been in the
Under
White
the
House?
couch.
Speaking of, is
No, I
anybody?
have not.
I was when I was younger. It was back when they had the you could when you were in D.C. and you could walk up to a kiosk and just get a tour like that day.
Really?
Yeah,
Gone are
crazy.
those
Wow.
days.
Yeah, that was back in like 1985. Reagan was president. In fact, we saw him land on the White House lawn from across the street. So made everybody go across the street. My dad had one of those like 1985 like lenses. You know what I mean? The camera.
Today he would be tackled.
If you win the election,
Yeah.
can we have a tour of the White
Yeah.
House?
I'll go one further for you because I've already told millions of Americans
I'd like to
across
sleep
this
over.
country that because I'm a redneck from Texas, I like a simple life. I barbecue. I'm really good with smoking meat, and I've decided that we would have a traditional barbecue on the south lawn of the White House, and no one in Congress or Senate is allowed to come. It's for the American people because this is their campaign. I'm running for them. And if we're successful and we win, then we shall repay them by having a nice celebratory party with me cooking, me
That's
riding a
tremendous.
bicycle and not falling, running upstairs without tripping, and being able to complete a complete sentence without stuttering. So we're going to do a lot of things on day one. I might even wear shorts with flip-flops and socks if that's a thing in D.C. I don't know. But we're going to make it fun. And, you know, when we get down to business and we start doing the job, we're going to do just that. We're not going to take vacations on the beach in Delaware or in Lake Tahoe. We're actually going to work because we need it. We deserve it. We should demand it. And so we're looking forward to the opportunity. So,
Well, I'll bring potato salad, if that's okay.
yeah. Redskin potato salad is a plus.
You got it.
Atta girl.
Now, I learned about you from Jerry Petito, friend of the show. I need to know how you two connected.
All right,
How
let
did you
me-
two meet?
let
You're a
me
very
explain.
unlikely pair.
I'm going to start, and then he can give his version. So I get a phone call from Doc G, the original owner of Hamilton Radio, and he says to me, of all people, listen, this guy, Kevin, got in touch with me, and there's this guy, Anthony Hudson, running for president, and he wants you to get involved. I think you should do it. I go, I don't do politics. I said, and if he's not on the same page with me, I'm not doing it. No, we really got to get involved. I said, then I got to talk to this guy. Well, I don't have his number. You know, his associate got in touch with me. I said, get in touch with his associate, ASAP, and tell him Anthony has to call me. I'm not kidding you. This guy called me in less than 3 minutes. That's how quick this happened. We had an amazing conversation. We are on board with everything, guys. And I said, I'm in. And this is the first time that I started getting involved with politics with the radio. He's an incredible guy.
Well, that's her version. There's literally a bad Tinder date that went wrong. So,
Oh my
but
God.
no, I'm just kidding. Yeah, Kevin reached out to them because he noticed that Gino was following one of our shows, our live shows on TikTok. Hi. And so I guess they were sending some messages back and forth for a brief minute, and Gino offered to support us and give us a shot to get our voice heard on his radio show through Jerry Petito. And
Oh, see,
yeah,
I didn't know that part. I didn't know Gino offered. Okay, I was told that Kevin got in touch with Gino. But all right, it's cool.
Yeah, I think somewhere along the conversation, one of them said, hey, we can have him on the radio show, and the other one said, sure, okay, we'll make that work. So Kevin got a hold of me, gave me the phone number. I called, and we just struck it off. We hit it off really, really well as far as the ideologies, the politics, where we see the vision for the country. And we came here first, right? She flew me and my fiance out here to New York. I'd never been to New York before, so she really rolled out the red carpet. Ruben picked us up at Newark.
Yep.
and took us around, showed us the World Trade Center, the Statue of Liberty. I got a slice of pizza, got caught in the rain. It was great. And then, we fought the traffic. We saw a bunch of bridges I couldn't remember, but there were a bunch of bridges and a bunch of tunnels and toll rolls. And,
George Washington Bridge.
It was crazy. So we come here and we do the interview, and I go home, and it was not even a month.
But wait, you didn't just do the interview and go home. I took this guy to Papa's Tomato Pies, and it's the oldest tomato pie place in the nation, right here in our town, right? His girlfriend calls me and says, we hate you. We can't eat pizza ever again.
Not in Michigan.
Ah, ruined it.
It was so good, and we haven't. I had Papa's again tonight for dinner, so it was great. But after
choice.
the visit here, we went home, and it was maybe a month.
Maybe a month.
And I called up Jerry, and I said, listen, do you want to go to the border? Do you want to go to Yuma, Arizona, and see the immigration problem that we have? Because I'm going, and I'm going to be attending a congressional hearing and doing a lot of things I haven't done before. And without hesitation, she's
Yes.
like, yep, me and Ruben, we're going to book our flight. We're going to go down there. We're going to meet up with you. And they did. They got some amazing footage of what is really happening down on the southern border. And a lot of times you guys watch the news and you're like, oh, it doesn't seem all that bad. But when you go there and there's bodies to pick up out of the field, or you see Border Patrol hustling at night trying to track someone down with dogs and all that good stuff, it becomes reality. And when you see the looks on these women's faces or the little girls'
And
faces
children.
that come into this country, there was a 7-year-old that her mother had left her in the Mexican jungle 30 days before she got to the border, 7 years old. And she just come running up to us. Didn't want anything to eat or drink, but when we gave it to her, it didn't last 2 seconds. And we were able to expose the truth at the southern border, and that's when I started gaining traction in this campaign. And it's all because, Jerry comes down, Ruben comes out with the camera, they interview, they get the nice footage, and they put it up on all their social media platforms. So because of one 5-minute phone call, we've now built a relationship where this is my second time in studio. It's probably my 5th or 6th live show
easy.
with the station. So it was as easy as that. And here I am. Because
now-
of Jerry, I'm sitting here with you
And
ladies.
now I'm also invited, tell them about the end of November, and I'm hoping to do this as well.
Yeah, the end of November, there's a convention going on in Galveston, Texas, where Vivek Ramaswamy, Ron DeSantis, Nikki Haley, and I can't remember if it's Chris Christie or Mike Pence are going to be there.
And
And
possibly
Donald Trump has been invited. He hasn't confirmed whether he's going to be there or not. But I am the only independent presidential candidate that they reached out to invite to their convention. It's all Republican and me. And Jerry is going to try and get her and Ruben to get down there and cover that live. It's a 3-day event in Galveston, roughly 100,000 people. So it's really going to be big.
Well, we'll be watching.
What is your background? Like, how did you decide this is what you wanted to do?
A lot of people ask me this, and growing up, we talked about this earlier today, growing up, I had no ambitions of being in politics. None. I just thought I would live my life. I'd do my thing. I was free. I was able to make my own choices, be as successful as I want to be, whatever. And it wasn't until I got older, in my mid to late 30s, that I realized that my life is directed by the decisions being made in Washington. What they do affects me, just like it affects each and every one of you. And last year in July, a really good friend of mine and I got into a heated debate over politics, and we're no longer friends. That's how
happens a lot
serious
lately.
this is.
I know a lot of people that families
Yes.
that
Yes.
are divided,
Yes.
that don't speak to
Absolutely.
each other over politics
Right.
over the past 8
So,
years.
Yeah,
People
and
have
it's
forgotten
it's
respectful
something that we
discourse.
need to be aware of. We need to consciously be thinking about this, because our families and our friends, those relationships should not be lost to a bunch of controlling hypocrites, 1,000 miles away, or in your case, a couple hours away from here. We need to get the government out of our homes and let those people who govern actually govern the country so we can live our lives. And I lost that friendship on July 4th of last year. July 8th, I filled out my paperwork to run for president, because I said somebody has got to stand up and do something rather than just complaining and talking all the time. Too much talk in this country and not enough action. I think Toby Keith had a song about that. Little less talk and a lot more action. And I decided I was going to stand up.
So
and
did
I was gonna-
Elvis. Excuse me, little less conversation, a little more action. I'm just saying.
Okay, everybody, Google Toby Keith. He has a song too. All
like
right.
Elvis too.
Thank you very much. But that was the motivation, was to be a leader, to stand up and be something this country hasn't had in a long time. A long time. And I know a lot of people are going to talk about Trump. Trump made our economy great,
Yes, he did.
but he spent $4 trillion doing it, which led to part of this inflation that we have now.
Right.
My leadership skills have been in Hazard, Kentucky, when they got flooded. I was on the ground tearing up houses and pushing them to the street so FEMA could pick them up. I handed out food and water and supplies to over 1,500 families.
Yes, he did.
I went to Mississippi after the tornadoes. I was on roofs cutting down trees off of people's homes, handing out food, supplies, pushing stuff out to the road for the shredders. Little Rock, Arkansas got hit with a tornado. I was there within 24 hours doing the same thing. I have been all over this country helping those in dire need. If I could get to Maui, I'd be there. But it's expensive.
Yeah.
And we're raising money currently right now to go to Maui so that we can help those people get some sort of life back, some sort of hope that this government doesn't give. We just saw what Biden did. He went down there, kind of shuffled his feet around, complained that his feet were hot, and they asked him a question, and he said, no comment. That's our leadership? No.
Yeah,
So-
and the other thing, like, I want to donate to Maui, but who do I donate to that I know is going to actually help the people? Like, I think a lot of people don't know where to even
It's
do that.
tough.
It's
It's
sad.
very, very tough because there are a lot of people that have put up GoFundMe pages that have made a lot of money and they haven't sent it to.
Right, like how do you know it's legit?
How do you know it's legit?
Right.
So I want to
So-
say
We had-
something. I have
we-
to say this, guys. If you want to make donations, and listen, I'm giving you my word, donate to this guy. And I'm going to tell you why. Every single catastrophe that we have had so far this year, he has gone and helped with every single one of them. He has driven to every single state that had a problem. And I am not kidding you. I'm telling you the truth. This guy right here did it. So donate to him. He's the one that's getting in his frickin' truck and driving all over the country. And
Yeah.
it really is.
Anthony,
that one.
what do you think it will take as an independent to win the presidential election?
It's going to take a miracle. To be honest with you, it's going to take a miracle because
Independents don't, I mean, have we ever
Never
an
had one,
independent?
no.
and you know before you two ladies got here, we were talking, and the question of the day is, if we're an independent nation, how come we don't have an independent president? We started with one, with George Washington, and
He's the one who didn't want us to have
he
two
didn't
parties.
want to have the
right.
parties. He said the party system would divide this country. And
Correct.
look at where we're at.
So divided.
We are
Wow.
divided. If you have an R or a
One
D
thing
behind
he
your
said,
name,
please don't have two parties.
Where do you
And
think that
what did we
started?
do?
Because up until I think, like, just my own thinking, was, I feel like, I don't know, I don't want to blame COVID for everything, but like there wasn't this division, say, 10 years ago, right?
Right, it's the worst I think it's ever been.
Yeah,
I've never
right. Not
seen
that
it
there
like
was.
this.
There's always people that think differently, right? There's not. I'm not saying that, but it's so divisive.
so
Like,
can we
it-
can
you
we
know,
talk
and-
truth? Can we be completely transparent on this show?
That's what we do. We're
It's
real.
our fault. It's your fault. It's your fault. It's my
complying.
fault. It's your fault. Because we have all decided that everything is acceptable in this country. Every ideology is normalized in this country. It's okay to be part of the LGBTQ community, strip down naked as a man, and run down the street during Pride Month with children on the side of the street. If you did that, it's indecent exposure and you'll be arrested. But they can do it during Pride Month because they're special. I don't have a problem with anyone being gay, straight, lesbian. It doesn't matter. That's your choice. But when you have to publicize everything that you do and you try to indoctrinate our children with these ideologies that this is okay, the more you hear it, like you were talking about with the flags and the banners at the beach, the more you see it, the more you hear about it, the more normal it becomes. And now we have problems with it. We have people thinking that they are amputees. They literally put their arm in a sling and live their life with one hand. We have people thinking that they are the opposite race. There was a woman in California, a white Caucasian woman who walks around and identifies as an African American woman. This thought process is not okay. It's not normal. The man versus woman thing. There are only two genders. There is man, there is woman. It says in the Bible, God created man and woman. Now we have men wanting to go to women's bathrooms. We have men wanting to play against women in sports. This is not okay. If they want to allow this to happen, then the NCAA needs to create a different division for transgender athletes to compete against transgender athletes. Let the integrity of women's sports stay competitive within women. Let the bathrooms be a safe haven for women and young girls to go to without the threat or the fear of a grown man coming in there watching what they do. And I personally, I don't want to see what women do in the bathroom. That doesn't make you, that takes away the ladyhood, It's not attractive. It's not what I want to see. So why do grown men want to go into the bathroom with young girls and women.
But do you think we could get back to that? I feel like the train has left the station. Like, how do you go back from that?
You have to reinstate law and order and justice in this system. You have to. You have to have consequences, public consequences. You get caught going into the wrong bathroom, then if there's a child in there, you should be arrested as a pedophile. That's the truth. If you're a grown man and you're going into a girl's bathroom and there's a 6-year-old girl in there and you're in there with her, how is that any different from a grown man trying to trick a young girl to come meet up with him?
Right, how would anybody differentiate that? Just, yeah,
Well,
I mean,
Look what's changed. We used to be able to differentiate that. This is pathetic what's happening here. You know what has to happen? Listen, I'm sorry, I get angry with this stuff. Because what has to happen is, and I don't want this to happen, but God forbid, someone out there in the political world, someone out there, a judge who says it's okay, God forbid their child got raped or their grandchild. You think it would still, no, then they'd have a problem with it. So something major has to happen here. This is not okay.
Right. We just have to stop normalizing the behavior of a lot of these things that are going on in this country. And with some of these groups, like infiltrating our schools,
Right.
to teach our children or to indoctrinate our children with these ideologies, what happened to reading and writing? When did that not become important? I have a 9th grader that reads at an 8th grade or 7th grade level when all this stuff was happening with the fur babies. Remember that? People go to school identifying as a cat and they want a kitty litter.
Oh, I didn't hear that.
Yeah.
Gotta watch what I say. You know, I'm going to say this. I think I respectfully disagree with some things, especially as a teacher. None of that, at least in my immediate area, was occurring. And I think that there's, I don't even know how to phrase what's going through. There's so many things going through my mind. I've taught in public education for 22 years. And I've said this in a public forum at a school board meeting, and I'll say it here. This I have no problem saying. We as educators, we have one job. You are to love those children first. Love them first. We teach every child that comes through the doors, whoever they are. Right? So if a student is going to come into my room, and they have, and I had 2 students some time back, because I'm out of the classroom now, you know, the female students that wanted to use male pronouns. Okay. I'm not going to tell them not to do that. I'm still going to respect their choice, and I will do that. And I'm going to continue to teach math today. Does that make sense?
yes.
It absolutely makes sense.
So, I can't say that I've seen anywhere in the immediate area that they had that issue, but there was a lot of TikToks going around, you know, and then changing, like, oh, litter boxes in the bathroom and things like that. I go, what barometer are people using as truth for that? Did they lay eyes on it? Did they walk into the school building? Did they see that? Because that, to me, defies logic that any... Do you understand where I'm coming
Well,
from?
I actually
Right?
attended a school board
So, like,
meeting.
I know in my area that's not happening.
Yeah,
so.
it's happened in Asheville, North Carolina. There was a huge article done on it. I attended a school board meeting in Genesee County where I live for a small school. I'm not going to name the school. But there was a parent that expressed their concern about her son's friend who was coming to school wearing a cat costume and demanding to have a kitty litter box in the bathroom.
Yep.
And the school board didn't see anything wrong with it.
Like, this is real, like...
This is really happening in certain parts of the country. It is. Now, is it 1% of the students that are going to school? Probably not. But the fact that it has happened is a concern. School is not a place you take your pet. If you're going to act like that, that just goes to show that there are mental health issues in this country, and we need to be providing
I can agree with you
free
there that the
health care,
mental
free
health
mental
crisis
health
is a
services,
problem.
services, so that these kids can talk out these issues or get therapy or
I
get
mean,
help.
aside from that, like mental health is just an issue that needs more awareness.
It needs to be
Absolutely.
addressed, whether you're in third grade or you're 70 years old. It is a crisis in this country that needs to be addressed. And I think a lot of it with the young people, it's because there's so much going on. We have seventh graders and fifth graders that are confused about their identity. They're confused about their sexuality. And when I was a kid, when we were kids, we had recess. We had lunch. We had math, science, English,
still
social
do.
studies, and that was about it. But we didn't have to deal with these conversations that we today, as parents, have to deal with, talking to our children and showing support for our children if they were to go one way or the other. It's more prevalent in today's society than it was when we were growing up in the 80s and 90s.
Let me ask you about the mental health crisis,
Yeah.
if that's okay. Where would you even begin with that? It's so
It's just
widespread, and where do you start?
We've started working on a policy in Michigan with the University of Michigan. Doctors, they go to med school and then they have to go serve a residency before they can get hired full-time at the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
They're getting that training, they're getting that experience through their residency. We want the students at places like the University of Michigan or Michigan State that are going to school for mental health, to be a therapist, a psychiatrist, psychologist, whatever. We would like that, like high school kids, elementary kids, middle school kids, to be able to meet with them as class credit to get experience, to talk to these kids, to get them help. It's part of the graduating program. Teachers even get a student teaching period before you graduate and get your certificate, right? You
Yes.
get my ex-wife is a teacher, and she's been teaching for 15, 17 years now. And I met her when she was on her student teaching program. So we have these college courses that have or promote the experience before you graduate or before you get your full-time doctorate position at the hospital. Why can't we do it with mental health? Why can't we have school-age children be able to go see someone close to their age where they might be comfortable talking to? Because if you have a seventh grader talking to a 22-year-old man or woman that's close to them in age, they might feel more comfortable to be completely honest and transparent about what is going on in their mind versus getting someone that's older, more seasoned, use bigger words that maybe the child doesn't understand. Maybe. I mean, it's an idea. And it's something we've talked to the University of Michigan, and they're interested, but finding the logistics, the kids away from the college course, away from class, to be at where would we have the kids go? Where would we have the students go talk to the college kids? How would that work? And I told him, I said, it would be free. You can't charge for this. Mom and dad have the ability to drive their kid down to Ann Arbor and speak with the counselor, and you as the teacher, the professor, can monitor what's being done and use that as curriculum to graduate that student, that college student, at the end of their course.
Do you think parents would have an issue with, if I understood you correctly, seeing a college student that's being trained, right? So a child seeing a college student who's preparing for this career, right, to talk to them. Do you think parents in general, would have an issue with they're not completely trained, they're not completely certificated yet?
Good point.
Right?
Well, we obviously.
What do they, do you understand?
What are their
You're going to a heart
credentials?
doctor,
Yeah.
you want to see somebody
Well,
that's, been around the block a few times.
How
with
many
it, right?
times have you
So-
been to the doctor and the doctor said, we have so-and-so
I'm not trying
training?
to discount your theory, I'm just
No,
inviting
no, no.
a different perspective.
It goes in line with the whole doctor theory. When you go to the doctor, you go to an urgent care walk-in clinic, and the doctor comes in, and there's a student with a clipboard,
Sure.
and they say, "Are you comfortable with me?" She's a student, student doctor, or whatever. Are you comfortable?
Right,
We
like
say
this-
yes
right,
or
and
no.
you have-
So
this is my, they're studying.
Yeah,
right, I get
exactly.
it.
So
I think maybe if
with
they saw
this
a therapist
program-
with another, like this was training, you're with, like Jen's a therapist, and my daughter maybe whatever.
right, but the
Do you
parents
mind?
know before taking their child down there that this is a program with collegiate students.
Right.
And so they either like that idea and they're willing to drive their child down to get that help,
Mm-hmm.
or they're not okay with it and they choose to go through their insurance program, or because a lot of insurance has 10 mental health visits a year, something like that, before they start charging you.
Right.
So it's something that we advertise and educate the parents on the program to say it's available and it's free. It doesn't go against your insurance.
You know, and I'm speaking unintelligently here because I don't know what their practicum is, right? When you become a therapist or social worker, I have no idea. You know, I probably
Right,
should
we're
know,
just-
right?
I mean,
but
we're not, this isn't a professional conversation.
right now, but I'm just
We're
thinking like out loud, like,
Yeah.
hey, what do
Risk.
they do, right? Do
You would-
they
I
have?
would think they
I would
would
think they have
have
a
to.
clinical of some sort, right? That they would have something like
Yeah,
clinicals.
it's gotta be
if you
so
will,
far down
like a
the
nurse
line.
does or whatever.
It's got to be so far into their education. It can't be
Right.
at the beginning. It can't be right at the middle. It's got to be more towards their graduating. You know, in 6 months or 8 months or however long you would student teach. Maybe we could mirror or piggyback off of that and say, okay, you got 8 months of student teaching. You got 8 months before you graduate to actually work with students, build up that experience, and then as you move on, you could take your clients with you, because my goal is to be able to provide free mental health services to every American
Wouldn't
in
that
this
be
country.
wonderful?
Anthony,
What-
any-
no, and I mean that seriously. Wouldn't that be wonderful? I think too the issue is the stigma behind mental
Oh,
health, right?
absolutely.
So it's just not. And I hate to use the word normalized. I'm not really like around that. It's not accepted, right? So people still feel like some kind of shame, for lack of a better word, like they're
No,
not
100%.
so willing to talk about like, hey, I've got this going on and blah blah blah. And so there's got to be some way. What the answer is, I don't know, of making people feel more safe and to say, hey, wait a minute here, you know, I'm off. I need I need to work some things out.
Right. Or maybe you let the adults, you know, if we're talking about elementary, middle school, and high school students, how many adults are around them all day long?
Lots.
So the teacher should be able to have the ability to bring up a conversation with a parent. Hey, something's wrong with Jimmy. I don't know what's going on, but I know his grades are slacking. I know his behavior is
do.
not normal. Can I suggest this program that we have where Jimmy could go and speak to a therapist at Princeton?
Right,
If
I
that's
think
your
that would be
college right
something
up
just on a technicality. They'd probably refer to the guidance counselor and say,
Or have the
okay, like
guide-
stay
yeah.
within your purview,
Whatever
stay
the
in your lane
protocol
type
is.
of thing, right?
Yeah,
Like,
whatever
hey,
the
why don't you talk to
protocol is.
guidance type of thing?
But, you know,
So-
it's got to start somewhere, because a kid might think there's something wrong with them and they don't feel comfortable going to mom or dad, or they don't feel comfortable going to their math teacher, but he plays football and he's comfortable talking to his coach. So maybe he says something to his coach. Coach goes the proper channels, which gets back to the parents. And, you know, that's something that was going on here in New Jersey recently, is that I think a few school boards or schools were being sued because they were not informing parents that their children wanted to be transgender.
Isn't there,
And
like,
don't
some
parents
law
don't
about-
parents have the right to know that?
I think isn't there some law though, from what I understand, that precludes that, for lack of a better phrase. I think I could be speaking out of my rear
I
end
know
here,
it's
but
all
I
in
should
the
know a little
news,
bit
and I
more
don't know
doing
it.
what I do. But I feel like there's something that says that you can't report it. But let me look that up. Because now
I mean,
Look
as
that up.
a parent, I would want to know
Of
if my
course.
if my
I get-
son
I
or daughter
understand
was
that
saying
side of
something
the
and
argument.
the
I
school
do.
held that from me,
That's-
I would be upset, because the school, the teachers, the administration is responsible for educating and teaching molding our young minds of tomorrow. But if something this major comes up,
Devil's advocate, though, let me
Right.
just say, you know, as a parent, the child lives with you. How do you not, as a parent with the child living with you, how do you not see that
Well,
at home?
My thing is, you as a parent, me as a parent, you as a parent, the teacher comes to me and says this, and I'm going to deal with this. But then you have that small percentage that kid is going to go home, and God only knows what's going to happen to that kid.
right? Because parents don't think he knows or she knows that dad is not going to have it if
That's
I'm a
right.
girl and I want to become a
Right.
boy, or if I'm a boy and I want to become a girl. They already know their parents' demeanor or their thought process on this topic, so they're scared to death.
Right.
totally Googling this right
So,
Love it.
So that's where
I mean, there's
My-
a lot to change, but you know,
Yeah.
the fact
everything
is
isn't
we're
always
trying-
black and white.
Right.
and-
The
I mean-
fact
Correct.
is, we are trying to initiate the conversation, those tough conversations,
Right.
so that we can figure out a plan of action. And what's different from my campaign to most other candidates is they already think they have it all figured out.
Right.
I like to rely on the American people to tell me their thoughts. This is what we would like to do. You tell me how you think we can do this and be successful
I found it.
with helping these children. and helping parents cope with the child's decision, but also remembering the fact that our children don't have the same rights that we have until they are 18 years
Right.
old. We want to protect our children as long as we can. That childhood is supposed to be fun, you know, and memorable, not having to make a decision in third grade of, you know, what your sexual identity is going to be.
Right.
That's my point.
No, I
And-
understand
and
that.
we want to be sensitive enough to understand where people are coming from, but yet also stay in touch with reality on a lot of this.
Can I say something finally about this? So my daughter's gay. Okay, I have family members that are gay. My cousin to this day told me it's because of me he didn't kill himself. I don't judge anyone. I don't even judge prostitutes, and you know me, because they were probably raped by an uncle and have children they have to feed. No one grows up saying, I want to be this or I want to do this, right?
100%.
We go to Provincetown, Rhode Island. My granddaughter is 8 now. Artificial insemination. My daughter-in-law's black. And so they had a black male sperm so that she could have both of them. My granddaughter at the time was only 1.5 years old. She's 8 now. My grandson is now 22, so 7 years ago, whatever it's been. My daughter says, Mom, let's go to P-Town, Provincetown, Rhode Island, because they're having family week. Okay, gay families. I'm like, cool. So we go. This is the part that made me sick. They had a special event one night, a dance party, or this, you know, every night they had something different. 2 gay men walk in with their little boy, who was 3 years old. One day, he's walking around in boys' clothes. The next day, they've got him in a little dress. Now, this is the problem I'm having with all this, something that you just said, Aunt. We shouldn't have to have this situation in 3rd grade for children. They shouldn't even be thinking this way. Okay? When we were in school, I'm 62 years old. We wouldn't even think that way. If you were gay, you couldn't come out right away because people wouldn't accept you, right? Well, thank God that's changed. But I had an uncle, he's gone now, he would have been probably 95 years old now. He was gay, but he didn't want to have an operation to be a woman. Okay, so the kids are learning this stuff from somewhere. No way does a child just know this is a possibility. I could be a girl and I want to be a boy. This is craziness what's going on.
Was the child 3 or in 3rd grade?
The child was 3 years old.
Okay.
Okay, so the gay fathers thought, oh, we're going to let this 3-year-old know that there's an option here, and that's a lot about. Listen, I'm a health coach. I talk to a lot of people, especially with addiction, because of my book and all that. A lot of people talk about this to their little kids. Why?
So I invite a different perspective,
Okay.
right? And I'm not
No,
going one way or
just-
the other. Like, I just
no,
kind of
just
want to see
talk,
all sides
yes.
here. That child's 3 years old. Those are his parents. That's their right to raise them as they see fit, right? So I won't lie to you. That's their right. I feel like that's their right. Whether or not I agree with it, disagree with it,
Right.
don't care one way or the other is irrelevant to me. That's their child. They're not harming that child. That child is safe and loved and well cared for.
Yeah,
He
all
came in
right.
and clothes in, I'm going to assume that they err on the side of parents love their children, right? So most of us do. So, they came in and so he wore, boys' clothes one day and girls' clothes the next. That's not going, that's in their house and their rules, and I'm not, do you know what I'm saying? So if we're going to talk parent choice, that's theirs. Like, there's that side of that argument, right? So,
But then there's the argument that should that behavior be conducted at school without the parents' knowledge? I agree that if it's the parents' right to parent their children, it's my
Correct.
right to discipline my children how I see fit, as long as I'm not abusing them or neglecting them or refusing to feed them and take care of them. But someone else putting this ideology on my child when I'm not around, that is where we got to cross the line. We've got to keep that out of the school completely, because that's a place of education.
I know exactly what my issue is, and I'm not upset with you. It's like the issue with that in general is why I feel the way it's being perceived, just all over, like media, whatever, right? That it's the teachers In what world do people think that people are walking into this profession, into their classroom,
Wanting
on
to
a daily
change
Well,
kids.
Like, listen, I just want to teach math. Like, that's what I wanted
Right.
to do for
Well, I
22
think-
years.
I think
right?
some of it is-
No, I'm not saying you do. I just like this is like this overall arching theme, and I'm not speaking for. And I just want to make this known. I'm not speaking for those I represent. I'm speaking right now just on my own thoughts. Right? That. Like really, I feel like they became a political football. Let these people go to work and do their jobs and teach your kids.
Right,
Because
right.
at the end of the day, what did I just say earlier? You know, and I take that phrase, love them first, from something I saw. There's a documentary that's phenomenal. That has nothing to do with really what we're talking about, but you know, that what can happen with children in the classroom when you love them first. That's our job. That's it. That's it. The rest will follow. Teach them to be good human beings, kind, respectful, productive citizens. Do you know what I'm saying? That kind of thing. And I just kind of feel like they got caught up in it. So when I hear around the world type of thing, that they're teaching them, can somebody show me one person that did that? Find me the teacher. Find me that teacher.
As far as the talk of curriculum and
So I think
teaching-
the argument, like people are really thinking higher up on the pay scale than the people in the classroom.
Right, absolutely.
Right?
Like, well, who
So
decides that this is going to be
It's
taught?
certainly not
So I
us,
get-
I can tell you that.
I
right?
will say, my kids are older, so this doesn't affect me. But if I had a kindergartner, first grader, second grader, I don't want you teaching my child about sex in any form
Yep.
yet.
And you can opt out. You could for 40
I don't
years.
think
That's
they
what I
did it
tell
with-
people.
Until puberty,
Right.
I think it
my
was
kid
sixth
doesn't
grade
need
for
to
me.
know. I will teach them
I think I got the
what
girl
parts
talking
they
fourth
have.
grade or something like
I think
that.
the school did it
Right.
in sixth grade. They handed out the blue book and the pink book. They said, "This is
go
the
to
male
this
part."
When
this
I
is the
was in
woman part."
school,
Right, the boys and the girls got
Don't
separated.
do this.
Remember that?
Yeah.
when I was
Yeah.
in fourth grade, if the girls, I had a nun teacher, and she pushed for the fourth grade girls to be able to come learn about the puberty talk and all
That's
that.
when I got it in Catholic school.
It
fourth grade.
was not during school, and your parent had to accompany you.
Yeah, it was
and
at
it-
night. My mom had to.
And
Actually,
it
my aunt
was
took me.
they taught your parent how to deal with it, and you know, like, and
Right.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
No, that's
Now,
great.
And I know you have other questions
how
and
I-
we
that
want to
happened
move
for
on
me,
from
too.
this, but as a retired teacher, is
Sort
that
of.
right?
Yeah,
Retired,
sort
you're
of.
no longer teaching?
I'm no longer teaching. I
Um,
represent the teachers in
so-
my district.
Some of the issue where some of this is coming from, okay, and this is probably a very small percentage of this topic. And first of all, I love the First Amendment, freedom of speech. I want you to feel comfortable, speak your mind, say what you got to.
Yeah, I don't want anybody to think I'm being disrespectful. It's just like, hey, let me invite this other conversation to this.
Just throw it out there because you're not going to offend me or hurt my feelings whatsoever because I respect all of our right to say what we want to say. We all have our own opinion. That's what
Absolutely.
makes us unique and different. The drag queen shows, there are videos, not just on TikTok, but YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, where we have grown men dressing as women to read books to children that are
I've
below
heard
that
about
third
this.
grade level. And if that's not a form of indoctrination, I don't know what is, because now you have boys and girls saying it's okay for me to dress like a woman. Or is this a pedophile because he's got to dress like a woman to seek an audience of children?
I don't think that makes somebody a pedophile.
Yeah, I don't
But
either.
We have so many more questions, and I don't think we are going to get to
I know. We're really talking
any
here.
sort of resolution on this.
No, we're
so
not. We're not
let's
solving world
go-
peace today.
Exactly. As much as we would like to. But
It's just nice to
so
have
many
the conversation.
questions.
It is
Let's-
fun to have the conversation.
Let's move on. Do you have some questions down there?
Well, yeah, like we had. Okay, so I'll ask this first one, and because my questions flew out of my head now because we had such a great discussion. All right, so if you win, what's the first thing on your agenda?
First thing I want to do is overturn the presidential executive order that shut down the Keystone Pipeline coming out of Canada.
Oh wow.
Okay.
I believe that in order for this country to be an independent nation, we have to be fuel and energy independent. That pipeline, although it was not functioning, it was being built, is the future of fuel independency in this country. I feel like we need to start fracking and digging. A lot of people don't realize the United States is the number one producer of crude
I still want
oil
to crack a joke
in
about
the
the word
world.
frack right now.
Was that fracking, crack? What?
I tell you, I want to crack a joke about fracking.
Oh,
Like, what the frack,
um,
right?
Yeah, well, frack.
And crude.
But no, we are the world's leading producer of crude oil. It's liquid gold under our feet. If you're tired of paying $3.50, $3.70, almost $4 a gallon for
It's
gas,
expensive.
the solution to that is not to take the taxpayer dollars and work out a deal with our enemies in Iran and Saudi Arabia or Venezuela. It's
Become independent.
dig. Because when the world decides it's going to go a separate direction or different directions, like with this BRICS organization, who's to say they're still going to sell us their oil? We have to use what we have. If we want to be independent, independent is what? Being on your own pedestal, being the king of your own kingdom.
Can I ask a stupid question? It really is stupid.
No.
What's the argument? Because I didn't keep up with this whole pipeline thing, right? Like, I teach math. Like, for 22 years, I was in the classroom with 4 walls and nothing else existed outside. What was the other side of the argument not to do it? Like, what was people saying?
Because
like,
they want to
why
push the
shouldn't we
green.
use
They
it?
want
What
to
was
push
that?
the green energy with the electric
Gotcha.
vehicles.
Okay.
That
They
have
like
That's what I wanted to
3-hour
know. Like,
burn
why are
time
people against
Yeah.
this?
and
Like,
burn
what-
down
They
houses.
want to take
and-
away your freedom of choice by forcing you to buy a $60,000, $70,000 electric vehicle because it's green emission.
I see what you're saying. Okay.
They're pushing that narrative. But as a free citizen in the United States of America, one of the biggest things we have is freedom of choice. Don't tell me what I can spend my money on. Don't tell me what I have to buy. If you're going to force me to buy an $80,000 car, stop funding Ukraine and buy my car for me.
I would just say buy the car for me at that point. Like, right? Like, I'm just like, hey, who has 8? Like, that's the thing. Like, who would even have that kind of money to buy that car?
Well, and they still
A lot of
haven't.
people are walking.
These batteries are not safe that are in the cars.
Yeah, they're
So all these battery-operated cars that were
The electric.
the electric, that's what I'm talking
So,
about, right? They're not.
Hurricane
like, I don't really
Ian-
follow this. Like, for as smart as I am with a lot of things, this is not one of them.
Hurricane Ian, everybody that had these Teslas and electric cars
Right.
in their garages after the surge came and left, days after these batteries were catching on fire and burning their
God.
houses down, that they evacuated.
and they're $15,000, $20,000 per battery.
And
my
they have
God. And they're
a
not made in
minimum
the United
burn time of
States
3
either.
hours. You cannot
they're
put
not.
that
Not yet.
battery
They're-
out for
they're
3
gonna do that.
hours.
Oh my
Is
God.
what I've been told.
Right, okay. So,
There's a lot of problems with it.
That's
Very
a lot of
problematic.
And even in New York City, in the high
so
rises,
why are people still buying these things then?
the electric bikes.
Choice.
People that are using the electric bikes
I
all
know, I
throughout
really
New York
kinda wanna
City
know.
in these high rises, they're putting them in their apartments, which you would so they don't get stolen.
right.
Where else are you gonna
But
put it?
now, in the middle of the night, as they're charging, they're catching on fire.
Oh, my
And they're
God.
having a real problem, the New York firefighters, with these high rises catching
Right.
on fire.
So is it? So it's the battery.
The battery.
The battery.
The battery. The lithium battery.
Lithium-ion batteries.
They haven't perfected.
There's no
them.
other way to do this. This is 20.
They're looking
23.
into other batteries.
I was going to
hear,
say,
but
like, there's got to be a different way.
Yeah,
Crazy.
Gretchen Whitmer and the governor of Michigan just approved a Chinese electric vehicle battery plant in Michigan. It's going to create like 100 American jobs and the rest are Chinese jobs. But their job is to build and manufacture electric batteries for these cars. But it's a Chinese company. That's the problem with it. They're letting Chinese businesses on our property, on our land in this country, and making the American Michiganders, taxpayers, pay for it with 40-year tax exemptions.
surprised
So
Michigan's
they don't have to pay
allowing that.
taxes. So a lot of people, even Democrats,
Yeah, that's surprising.
even Democrats in Michigan are upset with this because we don't want China infiltrating our country. We're already selling farmland, Bill Gates, to the Chinese, and they're putting up Chinese police stations on this land. Why? Why are we allowing a foreign country, an enemy, a communist country, to buy American soil and build and put up their own police stations? For what purpose?
Let me ask you, what do you think about Senator Mark Warner's Restrict Act, banning TikTok because it's a Chinese
stop.
company? What is your take on that?
I just got on TikTok.
I know.
Well, you're gonna be fine. You're going to be
fine.
fine. I think what they're focusing on is keeping it out of
wanna
the
watch the
government's
dogs.
hands, like out of government phones and government tablets. So if you're an elected official, you're a senator, congressman, you're on the president's cabinet, I don't think they want to have TikTok on those phones. But to use to use the theory that they're stealing your information on TikTok and they're using it for this and for that and for well, if you're going to do that, cancel Google.
Right.
Right.
Every
They can
time-
get your
Every
information
time
no matter
you go
what.
on Amazon or Google, your computer is monitoring where you go. That way, like if you go on Facebook and you look at one of the ads, okay? You do that once or twice, now you'll start seeing that ad pop up more often on your timeline because they know you like that.
I find
Right.
now that I think about something and then I
It's
Yeah.
so
see it
true.
in
It's
my
I
feed, which
agree.
is
I
saw a
have,
TikTok-
I have a
alarming.
thought too. Not when we get ready to switch.
No, I saw a video this morning that they want to
Conversations.
implement a chip in our brain so they can monitor how we think.
Who's
And
putting a chip in our brain?
the government. I'll have to look it up when we get off show. It was the most redundant article I read. Is it
That
fact?
just
I
sounds
haven't-
outrageous
But I'm
because
gonna say it.
It's crazy.
Allegedly.
allegedly there's allegedly a chip in my brain.
Allegedly, because they want to control our money with this digital currency. They can control everything you do, and we have
That's
to stand
crazy
up
talk
against
that
these
they want a
things.
chip in your brain.
You don't want a chip in my no.
I don't want it. No one should know my thoughts.
Exactly. Something should stay
The
out
ones
there.
that
Why
do
am
get
I
a little
sweating
scared.
sitting so close to you? I feel like you're radiating on me here.
no one should
How
know
about
my
the
thoughts.
age? Can we get an age limit
On what?
I'm glad you
congressmen
brought that
and
up.
senators
I'm
and
glad you
And
brought that
term
up.
limits are also something I think that are
So-
within reason to
Yeah.
have a
Mitch
discussion
McConnell,
about.
let's-
yeah.
So-
He's got to
Term limits. You have to have 38 states and so many votes to pass it.
Okay.
Right? Do I believe in it? Absolutely, I do. It says in the Constitution that government was never created to be a career. It was a short-term, temporary job
to
that you
keep-
do and then go back to your normal life. The fact that, and I asked the question on TikTok, hi, 12
gonna
years,
be
or, 12
sensations
years or 8
tomorrow.
years. Hi, 12 years or 8 years for term limits. I thought 12 was a good compromise compared to 50 years. Joe Biden's 50 years. 12 years, get them in, get them out, serve with a president for 8 years, and then continue that work for 4 more years, and then changing of the guard. Most Americans that answered that question want 8 years. They want the
Really?
same as a presidential term. Now you've got to win the renewal, the
I can
re-election.
see why that would follow the logic.
But-
I'm not saying how I feel about it one
But
way or
the-
another. I see the logic in it.
to be president, you have to be 35 years
But there's-
old
right.
to be able to run. So if that's the case,
I agree because
Hi.
we're not real people
Let's,
before we're 25.
let's look at let's do a vote. Let's do a
Our
vote.
minds are
Anybody that's
fracking.
watching the show tonight, if you're hooked up with these ladies on Facebook or Instagram or wherever, I'm going to ask you a question. I want y'all to respond to them, and then they can get back to me and let me know. Let's vote 70, 75 as an age cap.
70.
Oh, can I
From
think for a second?
35 to 70 or 75. You can keep in mind retirement age is 65 years old.
right.
You look at Bernie Sanders, Mitch McConnell, Nancy Pelosi.
Oh,
You look at
they're just
Sleepy FJB,
Too old.
and they're all. There's a woman. What's her name? She's 90,
Oh.
92 years old. What's her name? You know who I'm talking about?
Yes.
You're talking about the
And-
wheelchair. Yeah?
And
Yes.
she had to have help voting on something a couple
Yes,
weeks
just
ago.
recently.
There absolutely needs to be an age limit. If you can enforce, and people say, "Oh, well, that's age discrimination."
I feel like I'm getting
Not when
pegged
you
down
have to
here.
be a certain age
when
to
other
run.
people's lives are affected.
337 million people live in this country, and we have an 82-year-old grandpa that is trying to spend his last few years on the beach in Delaware. Reality says that the Capitol building and the White House have become the most expensive retirement homes in the world.
I like that.
I can't. Oh my gosh, I don't know. Like 70, 75. Like I don't.
Yeah,
know.
I have to really think about that.
Yeah. I think this. Like if you said to me 70 or
old is your
80.
dad?
Okay, so Trump
my
is
dad's
70.
70.
Trump is 76.
He'll be 70.
Trump is 76 or 78. He's not far behind Joe Biden.
Now, my father-in-law is turning 80 in May, and I'm trying to think like between 70 and 75, the difference.
Maybe there's got to be a
In him.
cognitive test because everybody's
Correct.
different.
I agree.
People lose
That-
it
yeah,
at
I think you might be right on
60,
that.
you
I
know?
agree.
Like what if you have all your faculties?
But that's
and
why
you're
we have the
really
25th Amendment.
sharp and whether or
But
not
there needs
you know what I'm
to
saying?
be an age limit,
Yeah,
regardless.
I agree.
But
It's
they
just
should
what
also
is
get
that
tested,
number?
like Tracy said.
Oh yeah,
Maybe
I
there's
think
you
you
just
know-
got to be
anything
on
can
your game.
That's right.
early onset of anything.
If you do a cognitive test, like Tracy said, and at 60
I
or
don't know. I
62,
gotta
maybe
really
they should
think
do it
about
every
that.
2 years. you know.
not a bad
But if we
idea.
get
I mean, they
if we
do
get-
the physical.
If we
for,
get term limits, it won't be an issue because most of these people will be out after
Right.
8 years
Right.
while they're in their 50s.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, but the thing is to stop a decrepit congressman who'd been in Congress for
They're
40 years
holding
and
him up.
ran for 3 presidential elections and lost them all. All of a sudden he wins because people were tired of the Donald Trump rhetoric and they voted against Trump. It's not because they liked Biden.
right.
They voted
Correct.
against
That's
Trump.
exactly what
and
happened.
now, guess what? We're in the same predicament. Those people want to vote against Trump, but hey, wait a minute. Let's vote against Kamala Harris because Joe Biden wins another election. He may not make it, and Kamala Harris becomes your president. That's not something we can allow to happen in this country. Kamala Ding Dong Harris. That's what I call it.
You know, I heard her speak in person.
You did.
I did. I saw her in person live last summer. She was fantastic as on stage.
She was?
She absolutely
Really?
was, yes.
So really the news just wants to clip her out for the idiotic things that she
People-
says and the laugh.
People are allowed to feel however they feel, right? Like, you don't like her, you don't like her. You like her, you like her. All I'm saying is that I felt that she was fantastic when
Have
she
you
spoke.
seen the clip where she said, when we decrease the population?
I haven't. No, I saw her speak that one time.
I'll
And
show
I'll be
you.
honest with you, I'm not somebody that watches the news consistently
No, that's fine.
and that kind of thing.
When we get off the
But-
show, I'll show you because I stitched that video where she was talking about climate control and when we reduced the population, then boom, Maui happened. And all those people died in Maui. And then boom, Louisiana happened, went up in flames. Boom, Washington State went up in flames. People start looking into what these leaders are saying.
So they're making a connection between
They're
her
trying
saying that
to
and these
make a
events
connection,
happening.
whether it's a conspiracy
that's a
or it's an
stretch.
uneducated connection. But when you
That's a
listen to
stretch,
these
in my
people, when you listen to these people, they believe themselves.
And I'd say
They're
that
very,
if it
very
wasn't
convincing.
her that said it, like just for the record, like Donald Trump could have been up there and saying that, and I'd say the same thing, right?
Yeah.
So what I'm trying to say is either side of the fence, I would say that's a bit of a stretch, in my humble
Yeah.
opinion, you know.
But I'll show you the video when we're done.
Sure.
But the thing that the mainstream media, and we can all agree that the media doesn't really cover the factual news. They cover an agenda.
Please revive Walter
Oh my
Cronkite.
God, we want to start.
I say it all the time.
Our
Please
three-
If
revive
we do that,
Walter
we can bring
Cronkite.
back Elvis, and
Our
Jerry would
three-
love us.
I can't
Yes,
even.
yes.
Can you just tell me the news? Who died on the
That's our dream,
street?
to have a show
Like,
that is
just
the
the
news.
news.
Every
like,
station
oh,
is
God.
Not an
opinion
opinionated.
news, and
Because it gets spun, and that's what's feeding
exactly, and
part
there's
of
no
what's
real
happening.
News.
You know,
That's just the news.
Well, it's like what I did at the border. You know, I took everything I saw on TV and I went to the border and I was able to show millions of people something completely different, something they've never seen. Because even Joe Biden made a law or a rule that he didn't want the mainstream media reporting live from the border because anything could happen at any given time. He didn't want it caught on TV. So the freedom of press was really for independent news reporters. Anybody with a camera and a microphone and want to go down and report could do that. You can't stop it. But he was trying to control the news by saying you can't report live what's happening at the border. Well, I went down there and I did just that. I went live on TikTok. 69,000 people joined that show in the first 20 minutes. 69,000.
that's crazy.
Because they wanted, I mean, we were being shot at by the cartel. We heard the guns being
We
fired on the
also
other
saw
side of the
the
river.
cartel vans pointing their lights at us in the dark and letting us know, blink, 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 we're watching you.
That's scary.
Oh,
Ruben
yes.
told me about that.
Scary stuff.
You don't
yes.
see that on the news. I was there
Yeah.
when Title 42 expired. I was the only presidential candidate or politician, I'm not even a politician, on the border when Title 42 expired. And I stood with my toes on the Rio Grande River looking into Mexico to what had to have been 5,000 people staring back at me. And I had 7 armed agents behind me for my security detail. And when that expired and they started coming across, I as an American citizen, I felt helpless because there's nothing I could do to stop it. Just a free-for-all. It's wide open. And people wanted to see that. People wanted the truth. That's what the news needs to focus on, is bringing the truth, not 7 different versions of the truth. Because
Walter Cronkite.
Bring him back. Revive Walter Cronkite.
That's the
Right?
way.
Revive Walter Cronkite. Like Jim Gardner. Did he have to
Jim
retire?
Gardner, come back, come out of retirement. Let's get him back.
I agree.
Let's start our own news
Well, as you were
channel.
saying, bring Jimmy back as well. Jimmy Buffett. Bring
This
bring
is
him
what
back.
I'm saying.
Jimmy Buffett.
More
R.I.P.
flip flops
Jimmy.
and margaritas.
Just
Yep.
watch the
I have
news.
one more question, and it's about the integrity of our elections. What's your take on that?
Here we go.
And that's my last question. Then we gotta wrap. It up.
I know
Well,
this
we
is a
have a
good
tasting
show.
thing to do, right?
We do. We have.
Oh,
to
we
do
do have
flavor
a
of the
flavor
week.
of the week.
We have
We
a-
did, and we didn't
we-
do flavor of the week.
We will do flavor of the
we
week,
have
but
So
fribble
he's-
dibbles or something. I don't know what they are.
It's not Willy Wacky's, whatever the heck it was
Ruben
called.
is not Ruben's choice tonight.
What was it called? Wacky? What?
Willy Wacky snacks.
Willy Wacky's. that's right.
Okay.
Wow.
I know.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So, election integrity.
Election integrity.
Yeah.
I think that's
So-
a concern of mine.
A lot of people think that the election integrity starts at the ballot, with IDs and, casting your vote or mail-in ballots or, and that's a step in the right direction. But we need to back it up a little bit because the integrity actually begins when candidates get approved by the Federal Election Commission to run for president. The FCC says that every candidate is allowed equal and fair airtime. It's a written regulation by the FCC. And they don't enforce it.
No, they don't.
Because I've been running for 13 months, and the only news station that's covered me has been independent news stations in Michigan.
So who holds
and
them
Arizona.
accountable to that? If
What's
that's
that?
like if that's your right, right? And I'm all about like, hey, whatever's if it's written there and that's your right to have that time, who's holding them accountable to say, hey, wait a minute here, you're giving this time to this party or that party,
Wait
but
till
you're not.
you hear,
It's-
girl.
This is
It's
I'm really
a-
curious. Like,
It's supposed to be the FCC holding the requirements, the regulations, the whatever
They're
you wanna
supposed
call
to
it.
govern.
They're supposed to govern how the media is broadcasting and who they're talking to. And it's not fair. And I'm not going to sit here as a grown man and cry to anyone, but I'm going to tell you it's not fair that the only narrative that our media and our government want to push are the mainstream names, the bigwigs, the corrupt politicians that have been there for years, or the celebrities that have recently been in office. They want those guys. They don't want guys like me because I'm a threat to our democracy the way it currently is being run. Because I want to promote people before politics. I want to promote Americans getting seen at the hospital before illegal immigrants. I want to promote our veterans getting to stay in the hotels in New York without being kicked out so illegal immigrants can move in. I'm here to promote our national security. I'm here to promote the American dream, pursuit of happiness. Where is all that gone? Taxation without representation is considered a crime. The 16th Amendment exists to tax your federal wages so that money can go to helping you, reforming the VA, or investing in Social Security or Medicaid or
Infrastructure.
Medicare, infrastructure, bringing businesses back to this
I do
country.
believe the VA needs some assistance.
Absolutely.
And that money is being spent on a war that has nothing to do with America. It has to do with a private relationship with a few businesses that the Biden family has in Ukraine. If we spent $200 billion, that's about where we're at in Ukraine right now. Did you know that would have ended poverty in this country 3 times over? There would be no middle class. There would be the upper class and everyone else. $200 billion reinvested into our economy and those who are struggling in this country. We would have no one living on the street. We would have no one hungry in this country. I bet neither one of you ladies knew that we had 537 closed military bases in this country.
No.
And
not.
what's on those bases? Barracks, housing, running water, electricity, closed businesses. They are small communities,
Right.
like the size of Hamilton here. Why not reopen those and use those resources to get our homeless off the street? Why not put our veterans there? Give them all mental health, help. Give them sobriety classes that they need. Give them medical care so that they can be healthy, and then slowly reintroduce them back into society after they've completed the steps of this program, we can fix these problems. We just have to start asking the
That's the
right
thing, too,
questions.
with veterans, there's little-known programs out there, right? They need more, there are programs, and they're not, certainly, anything can be improved on, right? But I think, too, that what's available, I wonder how they know what's available to them, because there are definitely some things that aren't, I think, utilized or advertised well enough
Right.
for them.
But I think what's happening, we go back to what you said earlier, you can't allocate funds. You can't pull from somewhere to
Pull
help somewhere
one to
else.
do another,
And I think
correct.
that's exactly what's happening.
Probably.
We're pulling here and we're
Right.
sending it to Ukraine. And
Terrible.
The example I'll give you is the hospital in Yuma, Arizona, where Jerry and Reuben went. The hospital, when I was there in February, the fiscal year begins in October, right? The end of October.
Okay.
By February, they were $26 million in the red because they were told by the federal government that they have to treat the illegal immigrants that come into this country. So now they're scraping around, pulling their funding from the local charities that they invest in to be able to pay for the procedures that they have to give these illegal immigrants, while Americans with insurance are sitting in the emergency room waiting. It's crazy. We have to
See the humanity, though.
we have to reprioritize
What?
how we're going to spend our money in this country.
Humanity.
Okay, hold on. I agree with you, but hold on a minute.
I'm not
no,
saying
no,
that
no, I
they
agree with you.
that they should not. I don't want to say
No.
that
I
they
agree
should or
with
shouldn't
you.
receive help. But
No. I agree with you about humanity, 1,000%. Okay, I was there firsthand and saw what was going on. Here's the problem. I am the first one. Listen, I housed, I can't tell you how many people. Okay, never took a penny off of anybody. I can't tell you how many people I went into Trenton and helped with addiction. I can't tell. So I'm all about humanity. The problem I'm having is this. You know, my parents came here, my dad came here from Italy legally and all that. Problem is, we don't know what their status is. We saw firsthand there were criminals lined up that had babies.
I
they
didn't know what you meant,
stole.
but now I do.
Yeah,
Okay.
that they stole other people's babies to bring here for human trafficking. So that's the problem. We got to make sure these people that are coming in here, even if they're illegal, right? But they're decent human beings and really want to work. I have friends that were here illegally. I gave them jobs until they got their paperwork 5 years later. They were beautiful people. We got to make sure they're not criminals and they don't have these children here that they're bringing for child. I saw firsthand. That was why I used to think 100%, but they're humans, you know, this and that. And I'm a Christian. I love God. That's the problem. That's what's happening. What we witnessed changed my life. I'm telling you, it's that sad.
We want to take care of, we want to provide for the people in this country, but we also want to promote legal entry into
Yes.
this country, because I'll challenge you with this if you want to go home and do some research. How many countries in the world can you just walk into without papers, without being arrested?
It's a great question. Right.
Why is the United States
To stay and live, right? To just walk in and
stay
be
and
like,
live?
hey, I'm here.
Just come on over. We're going to give you. Let me tell you how bad it is. I know you want to wrap things up. I'm sorry. She told you. I talked. Here's how bad it is.
Flavor of the week.
Here's how bad it is. The illegals come into this country. They're running from someone, somewhere, seeking a better life for their family.
Absolutely.
Right, they're not just saying, "Hey," they're going-
The reason.
How bad is it for them that they're doing what they're doing?
Well,
lot
it's
of
bad.
them
If I could
That's
sit
my
here.
point. How bad is it for them that they would risk this?
Right, but with the border being open, whatever they're running from is allowed to follow them. Think
Right.
about that. If I'm running from the cartel
those people are
and
gonna
the
come
border
in
is
illegally, is what you're
open,
saying.
I will
Right.
follow you because there's no one checking me at the border. If you force legal entry through a POE, a port of entry, everyone gets checked. We only catch so many criminals and so much fentanyl and so many traffickers because they're forced to come through a legal checkpoint. But there are places all across the border where it's wide open and these people are coming in. We don't want to let terrorists into our country.
That's
We
the
don't want the
problem.
cartel and illegal weapons and the fentanyl that is now an issue in this country, which came from China through Mexico. We don't want that here. And the only way we can combat that with a strong effort is to make sure these people are coming through heavy guarded areas so that we can process them and get them headed in the right direction. I know we don't have time to talk about it now, but go to my website, AnthonyHudson2K24.com, and one of the first policies I have written is called a citizen's bond, and it explains how we can let more migrants into this country quickly and allow them to be here without the threat of deportation. They can get a job, they can get a place to live. We've talked about of-age military men and women that want to serve the country. This country, allow them to join the service, and when they finish their contract, we can process their immigration status because they served a duty to the United States of America.
I mean, that was done at one time.
I was going to say, like, that, didn't they do that
My
before?
It was a
friends-
draft, and they just took you. You didn't really have a choice back in Vietnam, but
But even I feel like even before that.
Yeah, no, my friend's grandfather came
In
here
World
from
War II.
Russia and
it's a
served
viable
our
option.
military
Right.
to
It's a
become a
viable
citizen.
option. You serve?
No.
No. I'm saying you
Oh.
come in and you serve. When you're done with your contract,
You're-
your husband and your kids
You're right.
have status,
That's right.
citizenship status in
And
this country.
I think that's a great idea.
Yes.
So we have ways to fix some of these things, but I just want the American people to understand that we have to be first. This is our country. We were born here. We live here.
It's
we
when the
pay
plane
into
is going
society.
down.
The
You
oxygen
put your
mask
oxygen
the
mask
plane.
on
Right,
first.
that's what I
Right.
just thought of.
And I put it up the other day, and
You
it
know what
went
it is?
viral.
I really think people all want the same thing. It's the avenues from which they're coming,
100%.
right?
But how much
Like,
of a slap in the face is it for those who came here and spent 20 years of their lives and roughly $30,000 to do it legally versus those who just walk across, get lost in society? They're getting food stamps, they're getting cash assistance, they're getting unemployment, they're getting to be hired for police officers in Chicago without citizenship status. They're getting driver's license in California. You have to be an American citizen to get a driver's license. What's
to be a
next?
citizen to be a police officer?
Gavin Newsom will probably allow them to vote, even though they are not citizens of the United States. They're getting more benefits than Americans who are struggling from the inflation. That's the problem.
And
is a
vets,
big-
and our poor vets.
I've always said our professional sports, our entertainment, everything, those people are paid such high
I agree.
money.
They really are.
Crazy.
So especially athletes, they come from the Dominican, they come from, I mean, if you look at the hockey, National Hockey League, they're coming from Europe and Canada, whatever, wherever they're coming from. And then they come, they play here, and then they go back to where they came from. Why can't we tax them so much that if you make the money here, you got to leave the money here?
If you keep letting these ladies talk, we're going to be here all night. But
No,
that
it's the
that
longest
goes to
show
the
ever.
flat
It was
tax that I'm looking to talk
some
to the
rich
American people about.
discussion.
We're going to need a part two.
If you make the
Yeah,
money
part
here,
two.
leave the money
Yeah,
here.
but if you have a flat tax, let's say everybody pays 15%, 15% of
Trace,
your
you could do a
$200
part
million
two on
a year
too.
contract is paying your
We can
share in
look at that.
taxes versus finding
Aren't they
loopholes.
taxed on the money already though when they get it? Like your paycheck,
Tax
right?
them again.
No, I'm just saying. Like,
I like
look,
you.
like you get a
Tax them
paycheck,
again.
like that
Right,
was right.
right.
So if they get paid $1 million and then they're like that's their base, whatever, and then they're taxed, and the government takes their like 250,000, whatever they take, right? Then they
They don't
their
stay here and spend it though.
Charge that non-
They go
Listen,
home.
but the other side of that
Anyway,
is,
guys.
well, they made their money. The government got the taxes, and so that was their paycheck. And it's to, if you make your money here, and you pay your taxes, you can take your money and go to another country.
But
and
it needs to
spend
be a fair percentage based on what
I'm
they
just
make.
trying to,
So
like,
Just
listen,
see
guys,
the-
we
just
will
like
get
us.
to
To
this
this.
in episode 2. You
Sorry.
She'll come back another night and sit down with
My
us, whether it's on
gosh.
Zoom or wherever.
He's trying to get me set up so that I can do my own show on Hamilton Radio so we can tie into you guys and join you from Michigan. I'm sure we can
Let's
do a remote.
do it. It's been an enlightening evening, a complete departure from our usual kind of
Yes.
format, our usual show, but I hope it was informative for the viewers. It was very informative for me. Thank you for shedding light on these subjects, and God bless you for wanting to be president
Take
of
the
United
thankless
States and
job.
handle it.
I
It's
just
a
hope this one
big
on the end, this
job.
feisty one on the end, still likes me a little bit. Nothing's
Just
personal.
because I didn't agree with
Nothing's
everything you
personal,
said does
you
not
know?
mean I don't
I'm over
respect
here
you as a
sweating.
human.
I'm over here sweating. So let's try this treat, whatever it is.
I tested you, huh?
Do we have time
All
to
right,
do that?
Ruben, flavor of the week, real quick.
Yeah, real quick.
I mean, isn't that what we want?
I was
more, though, to
all
be
night
able
waiting
to
for
talk
flavor of the week.
To sit
respectfully.
down
No,
and
absolutely.
have a
Just because I
conversation.
may disagree with some of your ideology doesn't necessarily mean I don't like you as a
Did
person.
you say ideology?
Ideology, because that's
I'm
the word.
not an idiot.
I know, right? No, you're definitely not. Doesn't mean
Ruben.
I can't have a respectful conversation about it.
We wanna
right?
eat.
So-
That's the thing.
Flavor of the week.
Agree to disagree
Yeah.
needs to be put on the table.
right?
And let's be mature adults.
100%.
Period. I don't care if you disagree or
Okay.
not. We could sit here and we can debate all night long.
Yeah.
And we can keep it calm. We can keep it professional. We can keep it mature, and let that bleed out into society, which can start spelling that word community. Unity.
Right.
Because you
Absolutely.
can't spell community without the word unity. So
You know, I don't know who's more talkative, you or Jerry.
What is this special sauce?
for a few
Oh,
minutes.
no, Ruben's
Yeah,
walking
I
out with special sauce flavors.
He's got kettle chips.
All right, flavor
I
of
love
the
a
week.
kettle chip.
Okay.
We'll have to get to fantasy football next week.
I didn't
That's
even
right.
know who the right players were. Like, I don't have names right. I'm
So-
stu
So
not
before
when
we
it
get
comes
started,
to
what
it.
did you guys think of Anthony?
Very informative.
I had a
Word.
great, we had a great discussion.
Again, if you would like to learn more about Anthony Hudson, check out his website, anthonyhudson2k24.com.
Good job. Yeah, he's been on a roll.
We're
the
gonna
past,
Tune
three
in to
days.
your debate.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I would definitely want to see that.
I hate politics, but I love being able to sit with people and talk to
Uh,
them about what's going on and how we can fix it. It ain't my way, it's our way.
Will the President of the United States please refrain from
All right.
talking for
What do
2
we have,
minutes?
Ruben? What do you have for us tonight?
We are
You want the real Tony
almost
to
out of
stand
time.
up?
That's right.
What do you have for us in your hands?
Okay, let's get ready to rumble on the flavor of the week today.
We have our own election.
We have our own election
We're gonna
here.
vote on
Yeah, we
Yeah.
gotta-
the,
All right,
uh,
Tony, this is how it goes. You got to rate this from 0 to 10 on flavor.
Our most
Okay.
excitement on a Wednesday.
And today,
With something in your mouth.
it's limited edition. I think Tracy bought this. Special sauce, potato
what is it?
chips.
Popcorn? Oh, potato chips.
Kettle
This guy got
chips.
a
I'm excited
Stop
about
it.
Potato
this.
You can't
chips.
have popcorn every
kettle
week.
chips.
You and your
kettle
popcorn.
chips.
Yeah, I love my
So
popcorn.
the idea is that we take 1 or 2 chips and we just taste it to see if you like it or you don't. It's flavorful or it's not. That's it.
Would you buy it again?
Or would you buy it
go to a
again?
party.
Yeah. Or we're for the party. Are you? Oh, let me get the napkins.
I'll get my guy forever.
Right. All right, well, thank you for entertaining our
I know.
nonsense.
No,
That's all. We don't eat the whole bag. We just take 1 or 2 chips. That's all we do.
I want to do it like school. Take one and pass it down.
Thank you.
Pass it
I'll
down.
tip you 20%.
We can never open the bag. We always have trouble.
napkins got cute little hearts on them.
You know what I was going to do and I didn't this
sure?
week is I wanted to bring in just the icing from
was
the
hesitant.
regular Oreo cookie.
Damn it!
I
I
didn't
forgot.
wanna feel
I was
left
going to have
out.
the golden one to see if the
I swear to
icings
God,
were
I was going to
different.
do that for
Okay.
you. I was going to do a blind taste test.
I'm convinced they taste
ASMR,
different.
we got-
Everyone
I will
on
do that.
Tiki Talk
I was going
there.
to do it tonight. I was. I don't have
Anthony's
time.
trying
I
out
forgot
this
all
limited
about it.
edition of
I thought
special
about
sauce.
it until Monday.
So let Anthony Hudson be your president of
Yeah,
special
I
sauce.
am not interested in looking at the comments after you said It's TikTok we're talking about. I'm not even gonna read.
Wait, the best part of TikTok is the comments section. Like, that's gold. There's
I don't
gold.
know.
gold.
There's
I've
gold
had-
in that
I've had
comment
some people
section.
that I have personally invited to come to Flint, Michigan.
Okay.
To have lunch with me to see if they'll repeat
Okay.
what they've said to my face.
That's amazing. No takers?
No takers yet.
Wow.
Well,
I
they
think
know I'm
Anthony and
6'2",
I should have a
250
one-to-one
pounds,
debate on
so,
education.
You know, oh man, these
Wait,
are
can I
they're
smell it?
green.
You want a different tip?
They smell good.
You don't get the
Do that, I
look
didn't
in-
smell it.
No, I
Oh,
got
yeah, they do.
2 1/3.
It smells like a chip.
All right.
And Jerry's
Going
one.
in.
Just try 1 chip.
Going in.
Going in. Remember, 0
right, are we
to
ready?
10.
Going
Here
in.
we go.
You already started.
I need another one, I think.
You know?
It's like a barbecue.
Yeah, it's barbecue.
Got some sort of little
Like
thing
honey
in the
barbecue.
beginning.
Feels like a honey barbecue.
Yeah.
Is it like
pretty
one of
good.
them ghost peppers is gonna get really hot in a second.
I know, I'm
pretty good.
waiting. I
Yeah.
don't taste anything special about this.
No.
It's a
I think,
honey barbecue kettle chip.
Yeah. I taste
Yeah.
it. I
There are.
taste the
There's
barbecue.
honey. Oh, there is honey in it that we tasted, and some other spices. Sunflower oil, onion powder, vinegar, and garlic.
I think this would be good
It's
with
a
hot
smoke
dogs and baked
flavor,
beans.
so
Rate it.
You're not
What do you
wrong.
rate
Milk.
it?
You're not
Am I
wrong. No, you're not wrong.
So
Yeah.
Well, now you know.
I told you
Okay.
I could.
Yeah.
So
When you have your
All right.
barbecue.
Yeah.
Now-
Kettle
I'm gonna
special
eat another
sauce.
one.
yeah, go ahead.
Because-
Yeah,
Does
sure.
anybody else want another one?
And the
Because I'm
potato
eating another
salad.
one.
All right. So zero to 10 for from taste to taste and flavor. Is it these a bad aftertaste
Pleasing.
or not? And pleasing. And would
Would
you
you
buy
eat
it
the
again
bag?
or not? That's it.
So,
Go ahead, Jerry.
all right.
What's up from Jerry?
So
This is the
I
first
liked
time.
it because it does have honey in it and vinegar, and I have that every day. So I actually like the flavor. I don't like spicy. So I will give it a 7.
Okay. Jerry gives a 7. Tracy.
All right, I think it's overall a very tasty chip, but I'm giving it a 2 because it's misleading. There's nothing special about it. It tastes like, you know,
I agree that
Yeah.
it's
a
misleading.
run-of-the-mill. You know, I was very
Bad
excited and
advertising.
very underwhelmed, frankly.
Right. We were too. Okay. Antonio Banderas.
So I'm going to look at the marketing here, and I think it's very bland with the marketing. Very, very generic, the red and orange. Right?
Red and orange? Okay.
But that could be a kettle thing. I don't know. But again, yeah, I agree with you. You're expecting something to really jump out at
Yeah,
you.
something really
You know, something to
unique.
stick out, like it's really hot or it's really
That changes my number.
zesty or what have you. And I could see, like I said, I could see myself or my kids eating this with hot dogs and baked beans.
Gotcha.
But I think the fact that it says special sauce.
More like a picnic.
Yeah,
type
like
thing.
when I get the special sauce on my hamburger at McDonald's, it sets the hamburger apart from something else. This is nothing that sets it apart from any other spicy or not
Spicy.
a spicy little barbecue chip. So I'm going to give it a 4.253.
He's the first
Go with
person to ever
high.
give us decimal
I
points.
think
One-
kettle needs to rebrand it and call it the nothing
even a
special
I didn't know we were
chip.
doing
Yeah,
fractions.
just call it the
The nothing special chip.
Go
I
ahead.
like the
Leah?
taste of it. I like the honey barbecue taste.
Mm-hmm.
And I like a kettle chip. So I'm going to go with a 7.
Okay. 7,
Yeah,
7,
7.
7.
I loved it. Yeah.
Okay, we got 7, 7.
I would have gone higher if it wasn't
4.999,
4.235.
5.
I mean, if it just
Two.
had like
Misled.
regular sauce.
Okay, 2,
not
7.
special.
I'm gonna give it a 5.
I agree with you.
Only because
Like
I
barbecue
thought it was
sauce. It
flavorful,
said barbecue sauce.
Yeah.
but it wasn't strong enough. The flavor
Yeah,
wasn't
man, I
bold,
wasted calories for
but
nothing.
it was tasty. I did taste the honey and the vinegar like that.
And I
just
like
a little bit of
that,
garlic.
yeah.
I
But it
was
just
hoping
wasn't
like a
bold.
combination of McDonald's
But-
and Arby's sauce, you know,
Right.
just throw something in there and
yeah,
and
exactly.
just
I wanted
switch it
that
up.
Radish.
boom,
Yeah,
you know,
I
like
wanted
that
my
bold
eyes to
flavor.
pop out of my head like that
And-
cartoon character.
exactly.
It didn't happen.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I want that bold flavor to come out, you know, like that. So we got 777, 4 in his fractions,
4.235.
4 to
It's
fraction.
not that
and
hard
a
to
2
remember.
and a
4.235.
5. So it's 7. So I guess the average would be. I was thinking,
Should
cut
ask the
down
math teacher.
Yeah.
It's
I
7.
was not kidding. How many
7.
7s were there? 3?
3 sevens.
3 sevens.
1 4.5.
4.235.
And
or
it's 2.
4 1/4.
Okay, so 4.
4.2. 2.35.
That's 6 and 5. So
That's
me and
just a
Trace would be
lot.
7.
Just
21.
6.
So it'd be 6.
Yeah, 6.
I think average is
Always
6.
Let her do the
impressed
math.
by
I was like
people
thinking, I'm
that
like,
can do math in their head.
we're gonna go
It's
with
so
6.
impressive. I just blows
Miss
my
Cat,
mind.
21 and
if I do
6 is,
extra
you know, something.
credit,
And so-
would you round my grade from a 6 to
All
a
right.
7? No.
Well, there you have it. It's a,
There you go.
it's a 6 overall.
Yeah, 6.
Yeah.
I mean,
Let's
you
say
know,
6
again,
overall.
find out for yourself. Don't take my word for it. But
That's
They were
right.
good,
And-
but I agree with the packaging.
And stay till next week when we do the
Listen,
next
next
flavor of the week.
Jump up the
Next
steps in
week,
Air Force One. It's
we have a
mediocre.
lot of good things,
Lord.
too. A lot of
Oh,
good flavors of the week coming
Wait,
up.
yes, we do.
And then we're also next week going to talk about our fantasy football teams. We had our draft this morning. We're ready to go, girls. I
I
are you
know.
playing
Can we
tomorrow?
sub people out too?
We can, but we got to
Okay.
go right now. But we'll talk about
All right,
this
we'll talk
later,
about it later.
and we'll tell everybody about it. Thanks for joining us. Have a great night. See you next week.
My gosh, you think they watch for an hour and a half?